back to another. Hopefully, everyone can hear me and stuff. Sometimes we have some technical issues and stuff, but we roll already. But anyways, we're gonna get started and stuff. We got a lot to talk about, a lot to get into and stuff. So, should we get started first with what video? All right, so we got a couple things to talk about, point out and stuff. As you guys can probably see from the thumbnail, a couple different things. Of course, the main topic will be more shenanigans for the truth in fantasy. Basically, that's what it comes down to. All right, so took last week off. Feels nice to be back into the seat. Seeing everyone in chat. Nice to see everyone, like Sasquatch Secrets, of course, Nikki, the tall ones, Cryptid Crystal, Miss Sandra, Piper. Of course, Nikki's going to have a good show tomorrow night with Daniel Benoit from the ECBR. So make sure to tune in for that. I'm usually late to the party, but I always like to show up in the chat and in at the very least. So, all right, so let's jump in, get started and stuff. Let's get started with basically, storytelling. So let's jump right in. All right, cute little guy, as green can be, blending in, showing his face, peering over the branch. And so basically you have someone taking pictures of the bushes and stuff, and I didn't do a good enough job to crop out their name and stuff, but it doesn't really. Basically, you have very unique looking photographs, of course, but it is just foliage, diffusion of shadows, pixelization, and of course patterns of the mind. And a lot of people are going out there and they really want to get Bigfoot evidence, and they're trying to learn, and they're really just out there, but they're really just too out there, too into and learning basically as they go from the wrong types of crowd that we have in this community, where everything's basically big. Mind speaks, talking to them, can teleport through the bushes, through the walls. It doesn't really matter, because you start seeing the evidence for yourself when you start taking photographs and you when you start taking photographs and it's real stuff is what it is. But some, a lot of these people just can't really help it. They don't really know any better. I would suspect this kind of person. I would assume, really gung-ho about just going out there and trying to get things done and find evidence. And, of course, then they find a particular leaf or a couple leaves that looks like eyeballs and nose. And then you help draw the little yellow squiggly lines. And, you got yourself the archetypal character of the green man in the bushes, the Oscar Couch. And you can see other faces in there too. I'm not sure if you even, the one I'm looking at is directly in the middle, obviously, but you could, look up here. There's an alien dude like right here. See, I see a little alien dude right here, and there's a couple of faces over this way. I mean, a couple minutes you could find, and that's why we have posts where they're like, there's multiple ones in there, and they're all laying down, and it's a bush. The person's like 20 feet away. Just very lackluster evidence and approach. This comment caught my attention just because the Lions are doing really they've ever done in decades, and so I just found that a little funny with the Lions and stuff this year. I don't watch football and stuff anymore, but to each their own. All right. I'm checking the stuff. I think, I might try to show videos differently because I want to test things on StreamYard because I usually upload clips and stuff to StreamYard and then you can show it that way, or you can show stuff off the computer, of course. But so I did both, and we're gonna flop and try to test the reception and stuff, and which one is better. Which usually would be the ones you downloaded to StreamYard itself, but of course you have certain restrictions. And the biggest thing is a lot of these people get up out there and I heard him out there in that bush and or around there. And then they start finding, of course, faces to to collaborate their story. And basically, it's imagination, fantasy, and overworking imagination because they do are they have a very high. What am I trying to say? It's they have such just they're enamored with the subject so much that they just dilute themselves with all types of fantasy. Of course, listening to some of the people that will be showcasing here tonight, they get swamped in the delusion and fantasy and the woo, and there's no separation of the rainbow of spectrums with Bigfoot in the middle. Like it just fits everything. Like Bigfoot can transform into a squirrel because Native American powers and skinwalker stuff, and then it can jump into trees because it's spirit form, and then it can do shadow form, and then of course it could be invisible, right? Because might as well. And then you have there's people who says they're coming in their house, and of course sorts of stuff, and they're whatever. It is pretty insane. It's pretty to be making such claims of critique and evidence that you actually need to be satisfying is going to be above what is normally needed for Bigfoot analysis. As I would say, getting some evidence out in the woods is a little bit different than got a party in the back room with Bigfoot in there. Like you would think the evidence was enough, right? But the scrutiny and stuff, of course, is going to be even more needed. And these people in groups, people who don't really make a name for themselves, people who just post it and having fun, doing good. And it's out there, man. And we're gonna deal with it. We're gonna have to deal with it. We're dealing with the evidence, and a lot of people, tolerance and accepting of the evidence, and of course, to question this would be bullying and rude, which is not. I don't mean saying in the groups and stuff because it's just why bother obviously to confront people about what they already have a predestined determination with and they have an emotional vestige in it doesn't really end well for the most part. Usually people get butthurt or cranky, and if you're trying to actually learn, usually it takes a brain wanting to be open and wants to learn, is open up enough to learn. So go on, Mr. Harrington, be showcasing Mr. Chris Reihart here pretty soon. We'll get over to him here in a little bit. He's a fascinating character, of course. Of course, Randy was actually on exposing his lies and his hoax that we actually will hear from him himself, which is very interesting. So, but we're gonna stick to the low tier guys. Is that showing for you guys? It's not showing. Might be showing for you guys, not showing for me. All right, this one says Thursday morning while driving in the lower flat of our half-mile driveway, I saw these large ground. I received mind speak. Please stop at the sticks on the way back home. Later that night, as requested, I stopped. I killed the engine. I turned off the headlights, got out of the truck, took some pictures of my cell phone. I think he said like they announced themselves they were there, and there it is. Of course, the pictures on the ground, and then you have this smoke and mirrors right here, as we'll reveal. I don't know exactly what is going on in this picture or what he's doing to the picture. Definitely not. I'm gonna say to what's going on, but let's just give him a chance. I'm sure he's gonna help us determine what we're seeing. Of course, I was actually looking 2 feet under where the face was, but my bad. Definitely helps with the yellow outline, so you guys can see it there. Of course, Mr. Matt Johnson, who is notorious for his ridiculous claims. Of course, this is another person from a group that I think you guys will find interesting, that is nothing but the most insane pictures and hoaxes and fantasy known to my eyes. And have children playing in there, so I had to add that in a little bit. We're gonna take a look at the curator of that group here in a little bit. Here in a second. He's a well-known guy I've talked about. Let's play this one more time for Mr. Matt Johnson. Oh no, wrong one. As always, the Bigfoot people, aka the Zanu, and some of their friends were present to pose and say hello. I love living at Camp Zanu. And I thought he helped him get off the sticks right there that he stopped at. So as you can see right here, you have original photo, and then you have a doctored, edited, it almost looks like an oil painting type of image that he's messed with or he's done something with. Maybe he's actually just smudged and just smudged and smudged and smudged and smudged and smudged over and over and over and over again. But there you have the Bigfoot in whatever kind of manipulation is going on in this photograph. That is my opinion. He's decorating. He's editing the photos himself because you have, when we show it, I'll re-show it. But you have this oiled image compared to the actual real image, and of course, this is just more added. Green people, the nursery. Royce had children in the nursery. This would be believable. I would love to believe this if she had photographs of these two individuals coming right up to her or standing 20 feet away from her with something of scale or something she can go back and measure, and like she had before and after stuff. Like, if she's able to get faces and stuff, come on now. Let's get them out in the open. Let's get them out of the bushes and out. And then, you can blow us out of the water. I will apologize and say, holy crap, I was wrong. That's amazing. Can you get more footage for all of us? That's what we need. I mean, come on now. Let's step up to the plate. That's not none of this imaginary Zanu stuff where the dude, has a brain injury, had one years and decades ago, or a decade ago, I guess, by now. I don't know. And Supreme PTSD, I think I can't remember his name, but he was over on the Untold Radio channel on Mondays at 7:00. He was talking about, it wasn't this week, I think it was last week or the week before. He was talking, well, actually you had to read because his audio cut out, but he was talking about basically a presentation of Supreme PTSD, Super PTSD, how can it influence and affect you? And his main example point was this guy. So in this photograph, I think it is editing. It is simply him doing it himself, and then no one is hoaxing everyone. And then if he wants to believe his own lies and stuff, that's probably happening too. So cut that right there. All right. Let's jump into the Squatch Watcher dudes a little bit, because why not? They're always pumping out something good, something juicy, something with integrity. Of course, that's the main focus with this group, as we've heard it with while they were on the weekly news show.
So, this video was sent to us in Hickory, North Carolina, literally just a couple miles up the road from where we actually do our primary Bigfoot investigations. It's kind of cool that other people besides us in the community are actually getting some what you would call Bigfoot activity or paranormal activity. To us, this could be what people could say was a cloaked Bigfoot. That kind of worded weird, but is this proof that there could be a cloaked Bigfoot? The lady that sent this to my wife actually works with her, my wife Paige, and she thought it was weird because she's never heard this growling before, and her camera's never just tripped like that, and then the lights never just cut on its own. We posted this as a short, and it's done really well, and we just want to post a full video and let you all see the full video, uncut, unedited, just raw. And people were trying to comment saying there's people in the car, but as you can tell in this video that's about to flash up, there's no one in the cars, and whatever this is loud enough to grunt and growl and get this camera or light to trigger. And is it cloaked? If you look hard, can you see a cloaked being or phenomenon just happening through the woods or near the cars? Let us know what you think. This is crazy. And it's cool that something like this hits so close to the Squatch Watcher's home. She has politely turned down the opportunity for us to come and actually do an investigation on this property. She says she doesn't want to know what's out there. She just wanted people's opinion, and she don't want to get whatever this is fired up even worse than it already is in this video, which we respect. And we just drop a comment. Let us know what you think this could be, this growling and this intense of whatever this noise is at the beginning, and what could set this camera and light off. Let's take a look.
All right, there's the intense video. What do you guys think? Hopefully you guys can actually hear the audio. Of course, okay, so you guys did hear it. The growling almost sounded like pigs. What are you talking? It wasn't squatchy enough for you? What about the cloaked Bigfoot? Anywhere in there? We can check that out. We're actually so we can skip dude talking. So let's check that out real quick. Get that set up. But of course, these guys are honest, integrity filled, put their values first. Of course, they took a little bit before they showed the original full-length video. Of course, no follow-up investigations able to be happening and stuff. It's a Ring doorbell camera. Have audio for the most part. Otherwise, some testing need to be done. Does the camera actually take audio? Was there audio added into this thing? How come the homeowner doesn't want to do basic follow-up? Just send a couple more clips, just to verify, the camera does actually take audio, and, just to eliminate some of the suspicion. All right, let me get out of that. I didn't want to say anything like that, cryptid crystal, but that is definitely what they present them as, especially on the hot piece, the weekly news segment featuring them in their interview. They definitely presented that as themselves. So, I don't want to say, they're outright lying and stuff, especially when they're proclaiming that they're boys. But at the same time, how much stupidity will they be allowed to have if on purpose, or is it because they're foolish? All right. So let's do this. Throw it up.
This video was sent to us in Hickory, North Carolina, literally just a
Let's
couple
go
miles
full
up the
screen,
road from
and
where we
then,
actually do our primary. The
skip
cars let us
around.
property. Just this intense.
Hopefully this is showing up better for you guys too. All right, let's play that one more time. And there's a couple things to listen and to watch for. Apparently, there's no one in the car. There's potentially some cloaked, in the tree line, around the car, stuff like that. All right.
Tense of whatever this noise is at the beginning and what could set this camera and light off. Let's take a look.
All right. What do you guys think? Think it's real? The worst part of it is if it's actually was potentially real and when evidence and it gets presented to these guys, of course, they're all over the place and can't basically get their head out of the woods. We've shown this many times that regular owl calls from barred owls that you will hear by going out there saying it is Bigfoot screaming at them, yelling to get the heck out of the woods, basically. I have some videos on here, which we've played before. Of course, that they're hearing coyote calls, basic coyote calls. They're playing it off as big. And my favorite video that I have of them, of course, of them hoaxing themselves, trying to hoax is presenting as Bigfoot when it's not. A rock that's being thrown.
So this would be a good place to look for stuff too.
Yeah. Through some trees, right-hand corner, lower right-hand corners, through those trees. And he's filming it on the camera, like he's watching it where it goes. He threw it. He throws it. And then he looks for them for like, hey, what are we doing? Are we gonna play off of this? Or like they look at the footage and edit it and say a Bigfoot on camera trying to distract us during an investigation. Of course, they didn't put that in there. During investigation. Like you see the rock fling through the air, people. How much more blatant can you get? How much you see it through the air? He films it, and they literally will say it's a Bigfoot. Like maybe we should have sent this to the weekly news crew so that What do you guys think about this? Do you guys want to retract any of your statements about integrity, or their whole interview about they vet everything they put out, they stand behind 100%? Like, okay, if this is the standard of integrity we have, then it's another 60 years, people. All right, so let's try to move on to the chopping block and stuff. We got some more stuff to get into. So here we have a little bit of drama that happened in the group and stuff, and just shows the kind of stuff that can happen. Of course, this got deleted real fast, and this is the type of stuff that can happen, and it happens for whatever reason, boredom, popularity. You want to get cred. What people all sorts of places and spectrums and thoughts and stuff. So why do they hoax and stuff? I don't know. All right, so we have the little people picture taken in Australia of a female. She stands about 2 to 3 feet, hangs around Sasquatch. They can cloak themselves and go through portals. Of course, he names the person who got the photo right there. Bada bing, bada bing. Hey, looks good, right? What's the problem with it? Well, of course, it looks, fake stuff. And you didn't really have before someone called it out, and drama, of course, got unfolded with people. I left the group as it was seen pointing out the stolen image without permission in a hoax post. It's not wanted here. Seems fraudulent actions are far more important than the truth. Mod provided to and lied and said he had permission to use it, which is completely false. And then I didn't actually get the rest of that, but she did post that she and says it's originally from the Midnight Monster series. It's an illustration, not a photograph. Did same image search, of course, and that's not really true. But he said he comes back and says it was sent to me. I could share it. And of course, she's actually naming names and says, "Do you have permission from this guy to say it?" Dom Sebastian, I don't know who that is. From there, sent the image to you, and you're allowed to use it. That's everything got deleted. She left and stuff. Of course, the whole story, and then when the real stuff comes out, even if the guy didn't really do it on purpose, he's not really hoaxing. He didn't want to actually hear information, or really, he didn't care. On the flip side, if he's hoaxing and he, you get called out pretty fast and stuff, and if you're with clicks and whoever your mods or whatever, it doesn't matter. You can wipe the rug, delete, and everything becomes fine. So I don't know what the heck that is about with that little situation and stuff, but you do notice that he did say that he from Scott Pace. Maybe you guys know guys. I don't really, I'm not really good with names. I'm good with faces, good with who they're associated with, brands and stuff, pictures, stuff like that. But he said that dude sent him. And this is the problem, they get sent stuff. Maybe it's a wholly different story, and he believes his friend because that's his friend. And then he gets confronted. I don't know the back details of this and stuff, right? But I'm just saying, this is what happens, and it is this fantasy storytelling, unchecked, no integrity, verification. And when you do get confronted with the real evidence, there's no you don't want to learn about, okay, well, how did this mistake happen? I don't know this again. How come my friend, told me this story and it's not real? Where did he get this information from? Or, of course, if they're hoping to get caught, then they really don't really care. And it's more or less, oops, I got caught. And this happens, I don't know. This is the crap that, and it's on all levels, and it's in a lot of different groups. This is one tiny example, but this is a good example because this happens time, and it could be nefarious purposes, on purpose hoaxing. It could be, the telephone game of his friend just sent him the story and the picture and he liked them. He trusts the friend, right? Because he's my friend. He tells a good story. He has a good smile on the telephone. We have really good conversations, but there's no integrity. He's actually hoaxing, lying to your face type of thing. And this is what it is. We have these people who will smile to your face and then lie right to it and want you to believe their lie. And, when they get, or you get caught in the middle of their lies and stuff, well, then, it's tribalism. You got to take sides. The information doesn't matter because, he's my friend. He lied to you and stuff. And, it's crazy, man. It's like, there's no backbone of integrity. There's no accountability. There can't really be. You can't stop people from making groups and posting whatever the heck they want and doing this sort of stuff. But aware that there are people who will use you, who will deceive you, who will lie to you, who will, grift, who will tell these stories and take evidence and lie, and they don't care. It doesn't matter and stuff. But they will use good people who are just in the subject and they really want to believe good-hearted people. They want to be friends with everyone. It's not their fault that you have these predators who basically are able to just, wrap their fingers and take them for a ride and, they'll hang on until it's, in their face, dirt, shit, destruction and bullshit, and people get ripped off, people get stuff stolen, people have all sorts of stuff happen to them. And so, this is kind of the reality of it. As we open the community up for more people to come in to our subject, there's going to be people who just want to make money, nothing but money, don't care about the truth, don't care about the information. There's going to be people who use people, get subs, make money, sell books. I'm all for doing all that and stuff, but like there's people who are just, that's all they're about. They don't give a shit about research or the actual truth about Bigfoot or, once Bigfoot discovered, then what, then research continues and stuff like that. No, it's about selling books, telling stories, reading emails that, you see on here it's fake. All these stories. You gotta question yourself. You gotta question it. All right, so let's get next video and stuff, and I think we're gonna be showing. We got one more video, of course, from the good old boys from the Sawdust Beast guys, because never know when you what you might hear from these guys and stuff. And I found this little nugget, and I thought it was very interesting because I think it just. Well, let's just play it and let's guys get your guys' opinion.
Wow, okay. That's really cool, Larry. I don't think that I told you and Debbie this, but when we were out 6 weeks ago or whatever at Land Between the Lakes, on our last night there, I had heard bipedal footsteps while y'all were out in the kayaks, and later on that night, nature called, and I thought, well, I better go out. I don't want to have to unzip this tent and be looking for a tree. And it was probably 11 o'clock at night, and I walked to that area where I had heard those bipedal footsteps. And so while I'm sitting there, leaned up against a tree crashed. And I don't know if you remember that. And Debbie hollered out. She said, "Mark, are you okay?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Yeah." And I screamed back, but I wasn't in my tent. I was leaning against a tree when that happened. And I have It's funny how things happen that are suspicious, and then and you just put it to the back of your mind, and you forget about it. But that reminded me of that.
I just thought maybe he leaned up against the wrong tree.
Our friend.
He just happened to remember, what, 6 weeks later? 6 weeks later, month and a half later, got triggered. And just happened to remember that, oh yeah, I heard that, and I didn't tell you guys. In the moment it was happening. Of course, did he get caught on the recorder? Nah, of course not, because he didn't remember, right? No. I find it fishy. And it's one of these things where you have people who just make up stuff on the spot, and it's like, oh yeah, Larry, you remember. And I'm not saying that that's what these guys do all the time, but I do think in this case, Larry or Mark is just bringing something totally that is just, he's making up shit on the spot. But there are definitely other people who will say, you know what, you remember that one time, and the dude will lead the story and throw the ball into the other host or person to lead the lie, and they play off each other. They do, and it's ridiculous. But I definitely think Mark here is remembering is an extra detail that wasn't included in the original story, and for some odd reason, it needs to be included. One of these odd things that you'll find from these guys' evidence that I personally think should be called out and stuff. Of course, we've shown here that they'll talk about family, friends, and everyone working together, and they actually despise, the wolf mentality. He actually says that in this interview with Chris Reinhardt. And yet we've shown where he's make posts saying everyone flood my channel, and it sounds like a wolf pack mentality to me.
Wow. Okay. That's really cool. Larry, I don't think that I told you and Debbie this, but when we were out 6 weeks ago or whatever at Land Between the Lakes, on our last night there, I had heard bipedal footsteps while y'all were out in the kayaks. And later on that night, nature called, and I thought, well, I better go out. I don't want to have to unzip this tent and be looking for a tree. And it was probably 11 o'clock at night, and I walked to that area where I had heard those bipedal footsteps. And so while I'm sitting there, leaned up against a tree crashed. And I don't know if you remember that. And Debbie hollered out. She said, Mark, are you okay?
Yeah.
And I said, yeah. And I screamed back. But I wasn't in my tent. I was leaning against a tree when that happened. And it's funny how things happen that are suspicious, and then and you just put it to the back of your mind, and you forget about it. But that reminded me of that.
I just thought maybe he leaned up against the wrong tree.
Our friend,
maybe he did. Maybe he leaned into a tree and knocked the tree over himself, and now is saying, and that was weird. I don't know if you guys heard that. Coin just I have a washer here, and it sounds like it flipped down and made that sound like that. But it was coming from over there. That was a little weird. Anyways, maybe Mark leaned into a tree. Maybe he knocked it over the tree. That's what Larry figured would happen. Or let Larry get these guys mixed up. Well, Larry thought what happened. Too big of a deal, right? If they both heard it and all three of them heard it, and other people at camp might have heard it or whatever, it slipped his mind. So I don't really, I find it interesting where Tiny Deal's important incredible important details, like, oh my God, you had a tree pushed over. Incredibly important details that should be documented, which would be talked about on, these shows. Certainly do talk about, and that you could forget about it and, miraculously remember 6 weeks later or so. Once you realize that people are fake, people are lying, people are really not who they presented themselves are on this, and when you're in the field with them, they try to lull you into a nice sense of like, well, there's Bigfoot over here and there's stuff happening here, and we put down and listen, and Bigfoot can just, you make Bigfoot out of any sound, out of any bird, any bugs, anything. So it's up to you. You guys think that's truth? You guys think that's fake? You guys think that's false reality telling? Just a little fib, a little exaggeration. What do you guys want to call it? Does it matter? I think it's all the same thing. It's just a lie to your face. That's my personal opinion on that. Maybe you guys are different. Definitely want to hear, because we can have discussions and actually talk and with open ears and actually want to understand and get to the bottom of everything. Let's jump in. Let's jump into of course, the main event we have here. It's a good point, Mr. Cryptidville. I've researched LBL for over 25 years, and there are a lot of folks out there who have ruined the crap they put out. A lot of people are flooding it. A lot of crap is being put out. Of course, it is notorious for stuff that is most likely never, of course, officially. There's no documentations and stuff, but when everyone is claiming stuff and the woo train is in full gear, anything's possible. So it's one of the places where the woo train is in full steam, practically with every group that goes there. All right, let's get started with a little story from Mr. Chris Reinhardt, of course. And he's one of these individuals from my, and we're probably going to have a part 2 next week and stuff to just show more stuff, just different stuff, because I didn't really get into any stuff, evidence that he's presented and stuff. And these are just little snippets. But they are what Randy Harrington pointed out on the Royal Rumble show with the troll boxing after the boxing match was done, of course. And actually discussion and stuff actually happened where people did come together and set aside their differences, which doesn't happen much. So this one.
And then we went back to the campsite and went to bed. I'm in bed, I'm listening, and I can hear footsteps. And it's one step at a time. Like if you were creeping up on something and you were like sneaking and you put one foot in front of the other, I listened to that probably about 20 steps. And then all of a sudden it stopped right on the side of the tent where I was sleeping. And we didn't have the rain gear on because it was so hot. It was like 95 degrees. Every time we go to the 400, it's like 1,000 degrees. I swear. It's a devil's armpit there, I'm telling you. So that thing, whatever it was, stopped right on the side of the tent. And I knew if I looked up, I was going to see whatever it was. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Now, I'm just coming out of looking at tree structures in the woods, walking around the woods in Connecticut, to being thrown into this situation where now I've seen them on FLIR. We're finding footprints. And we're down in the belly of the beast. So I couldn't look up, but all of a sudden it came down to me and huffed in the side of my face. Whoa! Just like look at my arm right now. Can you guys see that? The hair's straight up on my arm. Everything. And I shook. I shook for about 15 minutes. I couldn't move. I couldn't do nothing. I couldn't. Finally, my stomach, I'm sorry for everybody, but my stomach was ready to let loose. Now I got to go outside. I got to go out to the tent, grab the bucket, and head to the woods. Shane wakes up at this point, shines a flashlight on me. I'm standing in the middle of the tent, he tells me, pale white, asking me what you're doing. And I just tell him what just happened. I said, now I got to go outside, Shane. Well, you know, what do I do?
You heard from him. We did hear from Randy. The troll boxing video and stuff after the troll boxing was actually match was actually done with Randy, and he did explain that that particular story on is a hoax because they had audio recorders. They checked, and there is no huff big enough that is right there with Kurt. There's an audio recorder like 10 feet away, or just another at another tent or something. I can't remember exactly what it said. You guys can go back and flip through, and or maybe he'll come on and stuff. He can write in the comments. The audio recorder was very close enough that you will be able to hear if a person actually did that, or you would be able to tell the difference between coughing from someone sleeping and an actual Bigfoot huffing, intimidating Chris enough that he's about to relieve himself in his pants. So that's the story, right? And I think the key thing is he's so scared, and Randy did point that out, that he was really scared. He gets scared. Something that I did notice, and I did notice that every time he does tell the story, that the hair does for some reason stick up on his arm that he doesn't out. And this is something that if you're so scared all the time and you're just in fear mode, Bigfoot's old, and of course it's on your mind because you devouring you and everything. Every 10 seconds you're thinking how it's killing you, or it's going to do something. It's scaring you, and that's all you're thinking about. You can't rationally think about anything. You can't rationally do anything. You can barely rationally control, so you're not really in much capacity to do much. And to be honest, if you're sleeping with the freaking rain fly off, and you just look, then you'll know. If you do see something, you better be close those eyes again, right? But at least you'll know. And I think that's what we need. If you're too scared and it's your imagination, you don't know. Just open your eyes and check. It would have took literally, how fast can you open your eyes, right? 1 second it's pretty fast. So when you're in that mindset, and a lot of people in that mindset, and after dark and stuff, adrenaline, your heart rate gets coming and stuff, you're not really in the right place to critically think, critically react in the time need. And that's, I'm always like, reactive out there. Just relax, take a deep breath, no matter what's happening and stuff. Just relax, take a deep breath, and if you're turn and walk away. I mean, that's it. They're not going to come down. People are too scared out there, and of course, they're getting all these evidence that, well, how can you? All right, so let's dive into the next little clip.
Quote unquote lost, and the compass was spinning. Be honest. Could y'all not get a bearing with the compass?
No, but the compass was just, we're trying to find our position. We turned the compass on, the thing's spinning.
Oh.
Just spinning. And then we got back. This was the third time it was, all right, it was 100 degrees out. This is the third time we've been back to the top of that mountain. Now this, like I just told you, we just had one on thermal. Another one was knocking on a tree to get our attention to draw away from this. We went in the same direction as the one that took off 3 times. We got back to the top of the mountain. The compass was working, and he wanted me to turn the thermal on. And no way. Like I said, there was probably 40 of them sitting there, and I probably would have had a heart attack if I turned them on and seen that many of them. So that's why I didn't turn the thermal on that night.
Whoa.
Well, that's a good reason.
Yeah, no, I get the willy. Like I said, I'm not a fan of the night.
I love it. I can't see or hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 40 Bigfoot there because that's what he's imagining. Ready to just turn and look at him when he flips on the thermal and stuff. See, and the problem is, he's out there with actual researchers, like Randy Harrington and Shane Carpenter in the 400 doing this stuff, experiencing this stuff. So out say gets picked up and put on a TV show. It doesn't look good on their end because, you have this guy who's kind of scared to death and, everything's Bigfoot and he's fibbing, he's lying. And they actually do figure out later in the end that he was hoaxing about being huffed at, the stuff the first night of the tent, his story being huffed at becomes issue long-term, short-term and stuff, people don't see things. People give leeway, a couple chances and stuff, but in the end, when it comes to the integrity of research in the subject, and you have to value Sabe on of it is in the Algonquin language tribes that believe in the 7 teachings of the great. So I think that is a highly good value and one that is sorely lacking, and one that you get into some of these clips and figure out why, you're so scared and stuff. And it's not even that you're hoaxing, or it's like you really believe like, oh my God, Bigfoot's out there. It's throwing rocks at me. I'm about to get my head ripped off. And it's a night bird who's dropped a little twig as it landed on a branch. So let's answer some of these questions that Mr. Robert Den Dover said. Blake, what do you think of Mark and Larry's acquaintance with Tim Kuhnbaugh Baker? And he has been researching since the 1980s. He says the boogers there are burgers on his land in Alabama. Robert Kuhn. Yeah. And then Bear and Kuhnbaugh claim a squilly horn is a sufa in the Bible. I'm not really sure. I think that if you watch a lot of the Bear and Kuhnbaugh show reruns or watched it, I think you would probably find a lot of inconsistencies and some outlandish tales. So I'm not really sure. I think, I can't really say unless I actually did a piece on him and actually research and stuff. But I do remember and heard, and from what I gather, I think that for the most part, it's probably one of those storytelling. It's just fiction, it's just storytelling. Look at the actual evidence research. I know actual research and actual evidence is hard to come by, but if someone claims to have stuff, they should be able to show it. So if you have them on your property and you're communicating with them, and I'm just thinking, if I'm communicating with them, like, I know they're going to show up on a place or like on time. Like, I just don't get it, because if you're able to do that, I'm going to try to film them. And like, if they don't like it, then, well, I'm just going to keep trying to film them. you know, I don't get it. You know, we don't have the standards, and I think the storytelling where it's, you know, they got a lot of good stories. They continually have a lot of good stories. I really think that it's 2024. Stories is not good enough anymore for actual research and like moving the ball forward and stuff. I'm not saying story, you know, and just a story is bad and stuff, but like I'm just saying, like, some of these guys have been doing this a long time. Some of these hoaxing people that I pointed out, some of these guys, you know, and all they have, all they will continue to get is these stories that they just tell. You know, it's time to move on. It's not where it's at. It's not where it's going to be at. This is where we're going to see hopefully the exodus from fantasy to the truth, from the storytelling to actually happening out there, real stuff that's happening out there, people actually out there going out there. So that's why I don't do. That's why I kind of really. That's why I haven't had people on here to really tell stories and stuff. Even though I do like having encounter stories here to be face to face to tell it. You know, there's a lot of people who it might be after the fact that you find out, well, they're probably full of shit, and then you know it looks bad. To me, it's like, well, you didn't really vet that person. You could have any hoo ha, like, you know. And then, you know, you're it's just ridiculous, you know. I, you know, it's funny is I just deleted I had to make room, and I deleted his the video of Adam Davis sitting at the picnic table. And of course I didn't realize that he promoted hoaxing and all that after the fact, which we did the stuff with him. But it's like, you know, you brush it under the rug, and a couple years later, a new flock of people comes into the community, and they don't know any better, and you know, that's how to stay afloat. It's, people stuff gets shoved under the rug, and then a new batch of people come in, and then it's like, well, they don't know any better, and of course, after more investigation, things come out. You interact with these people, and their personalities really tells you a lot. That's just good. I keep bugging out on my end. I don't know. All right, let's jump to the next clip for Mr. Right, I got it real quick though. Da, 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 da. All right. We're going through these pretty fast, I think. Pretty good. We'll get through the rest of these. Maybe we'll have the live chat open. Maybe we can view some other stuff. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. You say Adam Davis actually seen a portal. He actually seen the portal and the demon stuff come out. We actually up in the UP when he was with us on our expedition, he really didn't do much, but there was a little ghost encounter at the cabin, and you know, when reality happens with real evidence, you know, you're supposed to be out in the field, and it's not, you know, it's so how's it going? Da-da-da. Well, it's no problem, Pyromedic. And I think, we'll probably open that back up to have people back on and stuff. I'm not saying it's out of the possibility, but it's like I just wanted to take a step back. I didn't want to focus, and that's why I've been doing solo for a while, and for better or for worse, whatever. It's not about the views, the subs. It's not about creation in terms of, YouTube wants to be, a content creator and not Bigfoot researcher. There's definitely a difference. Definitely a difference. All right, so let's share this next video. We got to go over here to actually present this file. All right, here. Let's get this full screen. I don't know if it's playing for you guys.
You are, and you experience it. I love experiencing the Sasquatch. I want to believe every interaction I've out in the forest with. And we've got about 90 stones thrown at me.
Maybe we need to hear that again.
Experience it. They're on the same wavelength as and you experience it. I love experiencing the Sasquatch. I want to believe every interaction I've had out in the forest with whatever's throwing stones at me, because I haven't stone yet. But I've probably had about 90 stones thrown at me.
That's a lot. 99. That's a lot, man. And of course, that's a lot. That's a lot of times that he got scared out in the woods, and I'm sure he's shaking and being scared. And the problem with that is there's no evidence of 90 instances of that. Appreciate that comment, Pyro. Definitely miss Carrie and stuff. He was a good man and stuff. Definitely had a knack for just organization people out there and actually into the subject, and it definitely was needed. He was needed in this, of course, needed so much more in his own life. Definitely missed. So would have loved to have him up here in Michigan. And of course, it was going to happen. Yeah, but if everyone, let's take a side step from going looking at Chris, but it does kind of bring up a subject. If people watch Michigan and have a 168 at Michigan, it's possible. Winter, not really much of a winter here in Michigan, but it's almost summertime. It is the prime time for organizing these things, and I'm all down for it. We have a couple places that definitely could happen. Just how extreme and where you want to go, how to go. But I would love to actually have real researchers here and real people to film stuff, get evidence, collaborate, and actually present it to you guys in a way that is reminiscent of what the 168 was envisioned by Carrie. I would love to do that. Of course, that takes a lot of organization, and it's I'm not Carrie. When he steps on the pedal, announces something like that, people are calling him up, people are messaging him from across the country and practically the world, trying to get a spot. So it's free open door here. So if you guys want to make it happen, and I did have links in the description with some merchandise, so you can help donate. You can help donate to PayPal, and get a little shirt, get some stuff. There's a couple different designs and stuff more coming. You guys can certainly buy some merchandise, so you guys can actually get something for your money. Of course, as you know, I have not promoted getting donations for a whole year, at least at minimum, a couple months. I've been slightly throwing out that we'll be doing this and stuff again. So I actually put in the link the first time in this show for the PayPal and it's up again. And that is to fund actual research. And if you guys actually want to have real expeditions and stuff, have a whole 168 style, I mean, I would need some funding, having a whole bunch of people here renting out or buying stuff. It is logistically something that could happen. I don't think it's going to cost as much as the 168 was, those kind of numbers, but definitely could make it happen with, I think, relatively small numbers, honestly. And that is because you're not vacationing and stuff. You're putting work in and stuff. So don't come down to Michigan expecting to, you're vacationing at, you're coming to Michigan to put 8 hours of work in to research Bigfoot full time in a very opportune area. There are encounters who have happened, and we've documented it, where I believe we will have another chance, no matter what spots we go to. Depending how hardcore and crazy people want to go out there in the middle of nowhere, you know, we can make it happen. So it's that was the advertising part of the show, brought to you by our sponsors, of course, myself. And I guess if you guys start sponsoring and donating and stuff, I guess I'll have to recognize you guys as sponsoring the Lost Cryptids and stuff, because and you know, any funds would get to actually new equipment and stuff, premium stuff that actually would be used, and you guys would actually know, like, hey, you know, not just sitting out. Because when people have thermals and this and that, like, I know a lot of people have had thermals for a couple years, and I know from the interaction that we have, that if we have thermals on the spot at the right time and stuff, when it happens, it's going to be a game changer. It's going to be a game changer. So, and we're not scared to be out there, because you got to be calm, cool, and collective. That's why I always say, and that's something that Chris Reinhardt, as we're jumping back in, is not cool and collective at all when it comes to experiencing stuff in the wilderness, outdoors, especially at nighttime, because he's scared. And this is something everyone's scared. You go out in the dark, everyone's scared, right? So this is like everyone's scared of the dark. I get scared out there too. Okay. I have flashes of them chasing me down and devouring me and stuff. Everyone has this. It's very natural. It's a human part of life, because we used to have a lot more reasons to be scared of the dark. But you got to take a step back. You got to calm yourself. You got to relax. You got to take a deep breath. You got to calm and just listen, experience of what's actually happening out there. Because most of the time, right, we're all in the woods, right? There's nothing happens. We're not getting attacked, right? Like, we're not out there actually getting rocks thrown at our heads. We're not going to the hospitals for this. So let's take a step back, relax down. Let's point our equipment and try to get some stuff on camera, try to get some audio, try to get some interactions going. You know, you're going to need to not piss you and try to interact with the thing that's out there, if it's actually out there, right? How are you going to determine if it's actually out there if you're scared and you can't move, you can't operate, you can't breathe, think, analyze, and react? Like, what are you doing out there? So when you're everything that you're processing, as that's the main filter, and everything that's going through that is the fear. It's just bad combination, bad evidence stuff, and that's what we are witnessing and stuff. So jump to the next video clip that we have.
And then we went back to the campsite and went to bed. I'm in bed. I'm listening. And
That is not the right one. My bad. We were already. Let's take a look at what happens when, of course, you have, like, I alluded to this earlier. You have someone in the 400 who is hoaxing about their experience and stuff, and then the TV crew gets in there, films stuff, and puts it on, and of course, even inflates the story even more. So let's hear that. I believe that's the clip I was supposed to be trying to play. So this one. Definitely will do that.
Of These Woods Must Be Haunted. Like I said, season 2, episode 1. Great story. And These Woods Must Be Haunted. Like I said, season 2, episode 1. Great story. And as you were telling me before we came on the air, it's other than them, putting a little more dramatic spin on it, it's pretty much exactly what happened. Would you want to go into some of the details and tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. I was invited to be part of a project in the Ozarks, and it was a good project. I was proud of the project, and I went there for, I believe it was 4 straight years. We went in July and October every year for 4 straight. And the Terror in the Woods was from the first year we went out there. When we first entered there, it started happening. Everything, the show, that's all from the first year. And Terror in the Woods had us running out of there the first day, but we stayed there for 8 days. We never left the place. We never ran anywhere. We holders. The episode about with it walking up to the tent and that actually happened. So all the interactions were right, just the way they weaved it in, and then they took what I had up here in Connecticut, and they took interactions from the other guys in their areas, and they weaved it all into that one story. So they dramatized the whole thing. But for me, in my first situation and my first time being around real, actual live Sasquatch, it was pretty scary for me. And they did a lot of night investigating, and that's where I ran into them for the first time, was that night, and that was pretty scary.
I would imagine. It's one of the things we've mentioned on here before is one thing you have to remember when you're watching any of these shows on television is television shows are there to get ratings, so they will embellish the stories or even add details that may not have even happened. Why I like getting the firsthand experience people on here, so we can hear the bare bones truth, hear the story as it happened. Any matter what network they're on, they're all about getting ratings. So they're going to sensationalize. They're going to try to get ratings, which is why I like watching podcasts so much, because general the ones where people are just telling the story. And you'll get more factual information. So anytime you watch any of these,
together, of course, Randy, I'll have you on here in a little bit. Let's get through all these clips. There's only a couple more left, and then we can have you on to address some of these stuff, because he is actually in these clips talking about the 400 and Terror Woods, I believe, is the production company and stuff, and conflated stuff. And that's what happens when you're making a documentary. We got some action, and I was watching some other stuff about the documentary or the Discovery show or the Animal Planet show get ate by the anaconda and stuff, and his story about how the executives and everything basically wanted completely everything out of proportion and just sidestepped what was supposed to be actual, research to protect the Amazon and turned it Ponzi scheme. And that, that's basically what happens in, documentaries. That there's content creators, or they don't really care about actual research and the truth and, how things actually got done. And it's sometimes how documentaries is done. If something specifically happened on the last day, but it looks better if it was represented like a day, for the TV show, it's good, it's okay and stuff. And not again, not with the 400 and those guys, because they actually do good stuff. But when you have like someone like Chris out there, and then comes out hoaxing and stuff, the Huff. Let's get into it more. It just doesn't look good on actual real research, and I think that's more of a problem that people are going to face, because that you've discovered these people who are lying or have issues is, you spend time with them, or you're out in the field with them, not on not on the phone, not over the computer, not behind the smile and stuff. It's just because they have that gab and they can tell a really good story, and that don't mean shit until you're out in the woods, or you're out in the field, you're out and experiencing with them, you're actually with them, then it's okay, the mask comes off, they get dirt on themselves and they react, and it's like, wait a minute, I thought you were you were man enough for this, you were working out and doing this, and why, this total different character comes out as fake, because that's what it is. You can hide behind the phone, the computer. And I see some people who are, that have people surrounding them who are very troll-like, vicious mentality. And it's just like, it's it's this short-term duration, but it's a long-term detriment for your integrity and how people are going to view you because of one snake. It's something people are going to do, and I think that's what's going to happen. So let's get on to the next little clip, and that we can hear from Chris. I think we're going to have some more next week of him, because there's certainly some stuff to get into. All right, let's play this next one.
Footprints, and we head back, talk about what happened, and we talk. Talking them step at a time, and it took like 15 to 20 minutes to get to the 10. I mean, he was creeping, whatever it was creeping, and all of a sudden it's on the. I mean, it's built up. It's just like a horror movie. If I look up, I know whatever's there. If I look up, I can see it. I can't do it. 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 Hear a little shuffle, and then all of a sudden, right on the side of my face.
That's crazy.
I felt the breath on my cheek. And my hair sticking straight up every time I tell this story. 7 years ago this happened, and it still sticks up straight.
No, it's not.
I shoot for about 15 minutes. Finally, I'm in the middle of the tent, and literally I have to go outside now because he literally got everything moving inside of me. It's got to come out. I'm thinking, I got to go out there now. What would just happen? I got to go out there. And the guy that's in the tent wakes up and he shines the flashlight on. And he's like, dude, what's wrong? You're pale white. So I tell him what happened. He's like, why didn't you wake me up? I said, I couldn't wake you up. I was too busy shaking. And that was my first Sasquatch experience. That's what happened the first night we were there in the Ozarks.
Yeah, that was
all the.
Well, so now I actually felt it on a huffed, and it blew on him, and he felt it, and of course didn't wake up anyone else, and it wasn't on the recorder. Of course, Randy will be on here to talk about it, because that is what he did point out, is the story. He is consisted on the storytelling aspect of he's still, and he's scared out of his fucking mind, and he probably thinks it is real, but it's not real, and rationale, or he knows it's not real and he's making up a story. It's just and then of course he's moved on. I think part 2 will be, now he's here, and let's keep watching these videos and stuff, because he I think he talks about it and alludes to it himself. So all right, we got 2 more.
I've seen Chris's show, and he's talked about these shadows coming into his house and stuff like that. That's crazy.
Yep.
That's nuts.
But
you didn't experience none of that, though, have you?
We experienced that here in Connecticut. Yep. We'll stay in Florida right now. So we're in that same rate, topping out. It can't register any higher our readings. I think it's like 20 megahertz I forgot the highest that the thing was going, but it wouldn't even register a number.
Damn.
Beeping. And Chris's phone is going in and out. It's like they're scanning his work phone. They're trying to get into his work and trying to get into my phone out, and there's a message on there that I typed, and it's 4 letters. It's BBMC over and over again for like 60 lines. So of course, what do you think? It's a butt dial. That's what we're thinking. But it's in my pocket. Those 4. We erase everything but 12 lines, and then we record it just to be sure. We get home back to his place that night, get out of the shower, I take my phone, I look at my. Guess what's there again? The message again, the 4 letters, BBMC. Now it's capital letters and dots and spaces, just telling us now that this was purposely done. And it's me typing it out. It's not coming to me. It's me doing it.
Right.
We couldn't figure out what do you think this is? She goes, I know exactly what that is. And we're like, what? She goes, yeah, Betty, Beata, Chris, and Mark. The 4 initials of the 4 people that have been in the swamp for the last 7 years.
And of course, we have astronomical things just. And when you're scared out there, anything's possible. Of course, your brain's not really rationally thinking. And the woo train is in full ride. Speed ahead, I guess. This is what we're talking about. Like, there's no. And, I need to check out all the evidence he presented. I need to look and check out. I will. But for the most part, it is. And a lot of these interviews and stuff that he admits that he's scared shitless up there. And, it's not. Let's upgrade and stuff, let's get better and stuff. And the problem is this guy's out there with Doug Height and Snellgrove Cabot, and they have experiences, and of course I think Chris has his own experiences that only he heard or something like that. I really have to watch more, skipping around and stuff, but it's like this is the entire thing is integrity. It's the fantasy versus truth. Like, if a person's full of fantasy just because he climbs a ladder of popularity and gets hooked up with all these because they can play host nicely and have all these people on to tell stories and play the woo train with gifting and stuff, it's ridiculous. It doesn't bode well for those who give this guy a platform to. He's on Untold Radio or Untold, radio or whatever it is. Sorry, I'm looking at stuff right now. Let's play a clip. The last one, and then we'll have the link in the chat for Mr. Randy Harrington to come on, and then other people can come on after he is done giving his input on all of these clips from Mr. Reinhardt.
In these voices, we're having rocks thrown at us. We're having Sasquatch activity, knocks, whistles. They never whistle here. Voices.
It wasn't like that, was it? Before you went to the swamp.
No, I didn't.
Exactly. Right.
I didn't
That's
even.
crazy.
Right. I mean, with these guys for 7 years at a spot called Larry's that have crows, everything happened there. That prints. We found the nests there last year. But now we're experiencing all this other stuff. And what is the shadow, guys? I seen a shadow thing down in Florida. It was crazy. It was about 8 feet tall, and you know how the palm fronds sit like that. Well, something started across it. Black as night. We're at 2:00 in the afternoon, and what was that? I have no idea what that was, but it sure looked like a big black shadow thing to me. And
you said some of you guys have seen them in your house?
yes, I actually had to smudge my house because my grandson was seeing something in the hallway of our cellar. And I'm like, no way, they're not messing with my kids, they're not messing with my grandkids, and nothing. So we smudged the whole house. Nothing's come back. So now I have 2 friends.
Yeah. Then there it is. Anything's possible. Anything's possible. Experiencing whatever you want. Anything is possible. But I think the key thing is out there. He said it was. Maybe we'll play it again. It was only after he came back that he started noticing stuff. But he was gifting. He was and still is, I presume, gifting with Bigfoot for 7 years, but wasn't paying attention enough to know the signs and whistles and audio cues and stuff until after he experienced all the crazy stuff. He's gifting. Okay, so he's gifting for 7 years, and he has all this evidence and stuff. I'm sure it's very lackluster. I'm sure it's only one of 3 things. It's gifting out there. It's animals like a crow, a raccoon messing around with stuff. It's other humans, including himself. That's 4 things. Other humans, animals, himself, Bigfoot. What do you think is happening? Or maybe more than one. It might be some animals and himself. Might be his neighbors messing around with him. Might be some kids down the street. Like, how do you actually know it's Sasquatch and stuff? Of course, in 7 years of documented interaction and gifting, and you would think produce a lot of interesting stuff, but I've only glanced over stuff, so I can't actually dive into it and show you guys stuff. But I think it's very interesting that tall tale signs of hey man, if I was gifting, I got 3 items right here. If someone wants to read them, I'll believe you. Got these 3 items right here. If I was gifting, you would think you would have some type of evidence to show off. Some amazing DNA evidence, and they touched it with all sorts of oil residue. You're going to have something crazy cool. You can have opportunities to get them on film. You're going to have the opportunities for actually interaction of you being there when they're there to trade, to interact, to gift, not just every other day or whatever the schedule is. You're not there to see what happens. Like, you need to be there to see what happens. That's the only way. So if you're gifting for 7 years, then you can show up, the gift in hand, and gift, right? Yeah, I noticed no one gifts, bowling balls instead of marbles, boulders instead of pebbles, stuffed raccoons, and can't move. Shiny rocks and shiny pebbles and shiny doohickeys are very lovely to crows and birds. They love to move all sorts of things. So bowling balls actually would be pretty interesting. You know, you need some, if you want to story that needs extraordinary evidence, and Bigfoot already takes extraordinary evidence to be believable. And now you're talking about this tall tale, Mount Everest of evidence to be believed. 7 years? And this is a couple years ago. I think this is 2 years ago or something like that. Yeah, I had a German Shepherd who used to chew on rocks because sometimes you got a mean, cool dog and they're just blockheads. They're just big babies, and it's hard to get them out of it is funky like that. So like sometimes the dogs just have funky stuff. All right, so let's put the chat the link in chat for Mr. Randy to come on if he's still watching around, which I'm still sure he is. He can come on and give his input. We can, of course, replay all the stuff that he said. There was another clip of that I didn't include. Chris, who it was nothing about the views and clicks, and that's how he got started, and then he got with the 400. Left that. Here's Randy. How's it going?
Hey, buddy.
All right. We can hear you. How's it going?
Pretty good.
All right. What do you want to get? You are a little choppy. I'm not sure if that's just me or.
Well, I can hear you now, but you have been choppy on my end.
It might be me. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. If it's choppy on my end, it's fine. If Randy's good, let us know, and Randy can just talk.
All right. Well, yeah. I just want to cover a couple of things that you've already covered, and that is, I appreciate you playing those videos of him talking about what happened in the tent. I'm going to be working on some things. It's going to take me a while to put. There's such a volume of things that I've got to put together. There are so many lies told. I am sick to my stomach that I am associated with this guy. I mean, I'm sick to my stomach. Shane and I have even talked about how we can figure out how to get that documentary off of Amazon Prime, because the part that Chris adds to it, we know now is complete fabrication. And what can we do about it now? I mean, all we can do now is try to have it pulled off. At the very least, we need to move it from where people have to pay to rent it to put it to the side where it's free, because we may not even be able to get it pulled off, because I think Amazon is part owner of it now. So unfortunately, I think I knew from the beginning that Chris was a liar. It took till now for Shane, because of all the other lies that he's telling, for it to show the pattern is there, that indeed he lied. So here we are now, and it did not happen in the tent. I have a recorder that was laying 10 feet away from the tent. And at the time Chris told the story, he did not know the capabilities of my parabolic recorders. We've done 6 years of recordings out there that have incredible audio that you can hear rocks clacking 100 yards away in the creek. You can hear all of these things happening. We've got vocalizations. We've got all these things happening that easily was picked up with my recorders. him and Shane both didn't know the capabilities of my recorders that night, and they were laying 10 foot away from his tent. And you heard in his story, for 20 minutes, I heard footsteps coming up to the corner of my tent. And if you've also watched our videos, you've seen the incredible tracker that Shane is. He can track stuff, whether it's compressions or impressions or straight up footprints and twigs being snapped and all of these things. And the great thing about having somebody say that one breathed on you at the corner of a tent, you know exactly where to start looking for that evidence. Shane did a grid of that whole field, trying to find any evidence that would back up that something came up to the corner of his tent, and it just didn't happen. And so I've been sick to my stomach ever since then, because we've included that in on the happenings there. And all I can say is I'm sorry. And all I can do about it now is bring it to everyone's attention. And the fact that he keeps changing stories and telling new stories and adding details and even creating complete false stories about things that happen is pissing me off.
Yeah, it's an issue. It definitely is. And I think one that real researchers is, everyone wants to be nice and tolerant and stuff. And you don't really want to believe that people are going to lie and make up stories, but it just happens. And now documentaries, and it's hard.
Yep. I mean, clearly we caught several things on thermal videos, and the behaviors that we saw were there. I can say, was that a Bigfoot? I'm going to say probably, because of the way the behaviors were. So those are some of the things that he saw, but that added to his fear level. When he saw those things, he was over the edge in fear. There were times that he stayed in the tent while we would do things because he was so afraid. He would be like, I'm scared something's going to happen, man. I've got a bad feeling. Don't go out there. And then he would stay in the tent. He'd stoke up the fire to the size of a bonfire, and then he would stay in the tent while we went out and did stuff. To be honest, I couldn't even figure out what he was even doing there with that kind of mentality. But anyways, I'm going to give everyone here an example that you can go check yourself. Chris did an interview with Snowwalker Prime. I just watched it the other day, and I laughed my ass off. He did an interview with that girl from Snowwalker Prime, and she was talking about her husband hearing a scream. And you will never hear this story anywhere else because Chris made it up on the cuff. While she's telling about a scream that her husband was describing, he has to come up with his own. It's almost like dueling banjos. He's the dude on the porch of dueling banjos, where he's got to come up with something at the same time that somebody else comes up with something. So he describes a scream that he heard while he was in his tent at 5 a.m. And he was like, and I could hear the tongue, and it was like, and it's almost ridiculous to hear him describe this, but that's the way he's turning out to be, where he's got to, it's a dueling banjo where somebody's telling a story. Well, he's got to come up with a story, and no matter how false it is, no matter how fake it is. And believe me, Shane and I, we're beside ourselves right now, and we're going to go ahead and come out with something that I've got volumes and volumes of the lies that he's told, and I'm gonna prove where he's lying and what he's lying about and how many different versions of stories are out there, and he better get ready.
Yeah, definitely look forward to it, because it is directly from you guys, and he keeps talking the stories, even though he's not really mentioning you guys. It is a fundamental part of his research. Encounter happened. He got huffed at, and it blew on him. He actually felt it and stuff. Your equipment's right there. Like,
well, I can tell you this:
and he's friends with a lot of people. So a lot of people. No, it's no. He would never do that. Of
the hundreds of podcasts that you're going to hear him do, every time he mentions a Missouri story, that's with us, because he's never been in Missouri with anybody else.
That's right. Yep. Correct. Because that is, with you. Real stuff that Shane's seeing on the thermal and stuff. And then he's, for people, he's adding stuff to, of course, his own stuff. He's scared. He's seeing stuff. he also says there was a rock. I don't know if I played it in one of the stuff I seen. He said that he also that morning he was sitting at camp and there was a rock thrown at camp and the auto recorders were going. Did that actually happen?
The audio recorders were not going because we don't. I only played recorders throughout the night, not during the day.
Mm-hmm.
But that did happen there for whatever reason. Off the ridge where they were coming in behind our campsite on top of this ridge, it had to have been an extremely large rock that came down off the top of that ridge because it hit a tree. And when it hit the tree and smacked the tree really hard, we all looked up towards the ridge, and there was one single large tree that all of a sudden was shedding hundreds, if not thousands of leaves, where something hard hit a tree and one tree started losing its leaves because it was in the fall. So that incident did indeed happen. And that's the same ridge where Shane found the 16-inch impressions up there where the apples were. So we're assuming it was the big one, the large male. I don't know, but that did happen. But there's so many other incidents that was completely fabricated. Like for instance, he tells a story of a rock being thrown that whizzed by his head and he felt the air on his head and it smacked a tree. That didn't happen because me and Shane remember when he said, "Hey, I think I heard something." And me and Shane cut our eyes at each other because at that point we already knew he was making shit up. And so why would Shane and I cut our eyes at each other? Because what he's doing is unbelievable. And that just turned from hearing a noise to now when he tells the story, it was a rock that almost buzzed by his head and hit a tree along, he just made up details that weren't part of what happened.
I think I heard that mention that because he had 90 something rocks got thrown at him in his researching time. So, and the problem is, when he tells all this story, he can point to, well, you guys backing up or I was in. It looks like it does happen because of everything else that can collaborate it, but it didn't happen. Right. And then the only people who are questioning or know about it or bringing it up are only, us who are bringing it up, but people who realize that he's full of shit and dive deeper. But first,
Right.
you play a character, you're nice. It's only until you engage out in the field, really.
For instance,
you
just played the story. I mean, for instance, you just played the story where he was talking about being up on that ridge crawler hill area with a thermal camera in his hand, and he's with Shane. Myself and another gentleman was on a different part of the property with my thermal camera, and we were doing our own hike. But so he was up there with Shane, and things got so dicey in Chris's mind that he had imagined that they were surrounded by Bigfoots. And Shane told him, turn on your thermal and take a scan around. And Shane even told me this, and we had a good laugh about it. Chris is like hugging his thermal camera. He's like, no, I'm not going to turn it on because I don't want to see that I'm surrounded by Bigfoots. How ridiculous is that? What a ridiculous statement to say when you can turn it on and then you'd know if you had them around you or not.
Yeah, and he says it. He said, he does say that he does get scared and he claims it, and I don't doubt that. And so I wonder when he goes to church and he is scared at how people think about that, and then can you work with him or promote the idea that he's a real researcher and stuff. When it's every single instance when he's gone with real researchers, it's been the lackluster opportunity for him because it exposes him with you guys. And I think next week we'll get into when he went a complete flop on his end and exposed the true character of him. And now he of course is with Untold Radio, Doug Hijack, that whole promotion and doing books, and it's
well, I can tell you this. Doug Hijack,
all the money.
Doug Hijack is either dumb as a box of rocks or sly as a fox. And what he does is he's bringing Chris on, knowing that there's a high probability that they're not going to have any Bigfoot activity. But if you bring Chris, there's a 100% chance that there will be Bigfoot activity, according to Chris. And so Doug is smart that way, because even when there's not Bigfoot activity, as long as you've got Chris there will be Bigfoot activity.
Yeah, it's about the content, it's about subscriptions and money. That's why he's on that channel. I find it hard to believe that experiencing with Chris out there with potentially happening, that one with real research integrity would, it's not really the type of person you don't want out there. But when they're on their own, they're hearing stuff, and you can check if stuff really happened. Supposedly stuff happened up there. I think Chris has his own happened up there. Supposedly they might have had evidence, but they all experience stuff. So then it's like kind of promotes him into something that it's not. This is a detriment. I think long term, I think maybe Untold Radio will find out on their own. And then but short term, it's everyone's concerned about short term gains.
Well, I'm just going to throw a couple things out there. Shane didn't want me to come on tonight, and that's to his credit. Because we're putting together a good thing describing everything that Chris has done. But I don't care. I mean, I want it to be known that I'm completely opposed to what the lies that Chris is telling. And I'm going to tell you this. Listen to all of his podcasts. Listen to how many times he talks about being in his house and having stuff happen in his house. He doesn't live in a house. He lives in an apartment complex. He lives in an apartment building in an apartment complex. So every time he's got something happening around his house, it could be teenagers on bicycles. It could be all kinds of stuff. There's a difference between living in a house or living in an apartment complex. He wants you to think he's living in a house, because that makes, when he says Bigfoot is visiting his house, it's more believable. Because if you said I live in an apartment complex, well, that's going to be a little bit harder, sell, so.
And we heard a little bit about that. And I think when you guys present everything, you guys are going to really shed a light. Hopefully a lot more people are going to see it. And just question the, it's truth versus fantasy. It's like, if you want to believe the lies told to your face with a smile, because I guess, but a lot of people hopefully will wake up like, what we need, this is not what we need to move forward, and it's going to hinder us so much, because when everything explodes, you have to go through all the crap, and you guys are kind of dealing with that on your end, because it's like, do you guys want to talk about this? Do you guys want to put this out? Yeah, this is a hoax. Now it looks, what? It's going to probably look bad because of people's opinion, but it's like, the reality is this is the situation. And so like, this is what we're facing.
Yeah.
Other groups are going to be faced with it.
And
our groups was faced with that a little bit, different situations, but
and another thing
of the.
And another thing, he talks about a couple of UFO stories that involves his girlfriend, Maria. He moved into that apartment with his girlfriend, so it's her apartment. And he tells a couple of big UFO stories that involves her. Now, this is coming from a guy who's had 3 eye surgeries, detached retinas over the last several years. And he talks about, he even made a statement of only being a one-eyed guy. So he's seeing UFOs. And in the story that he tells, he's like, Maria, look at that. And she's like, oh, that's a helicopter. So the person with 2 good eyes says it's a helicopter. The guy with 1 good eye and a bunch of detached retinas tells you it's a UFO. So he's got some great UFO stories. But if you listen to the story details, the person with 2 good eyes starts out by saying it's an airplane or it's a helicopter. So it's ridiculous. He needs everything to be Bigfoot, and now he's telepathic. He's got telepathy that he can communicate with them. Yeah. I think he's preparing it because he knows that his eyes are going bad and his health is going bad. He needs to make it to where he can just stay at home and be able to communicate with the Bigfoot. So he's setting it up to be telepathically connected to some Bigfoots, kind of like Matthew Johnson, so that he can have some good podcasts with Bigfoot stories because he's connected to them with his mind.
And anything, because the imagination is the limit. So, and then now he's a big platform on Untold Radio, and it's like this is an issue because people get into this, and this is the garbage we trying to start off on. And you hear about it all sorts of, like when people get started, they're following this or they believe this, and the hoax videos, and the wiggle your way and learn as you go. And it's not easy. It's kind of a lot of the experience and stuff. The test comes first.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. One of the stories that he tells, and he tells it on every podcast, his girlfriend Maria tells a completely different story about the same subject. Now, I was friends with Chris on Facebook, which means I could look at his girlfriend Maria's page. And so I've been looking at both their page, and I see a complete contradiction. She's telling the same story that involves a bear. He's telling a story that involves a Bigfoot getting into her bird feeders. And I saved those off of both of their pages, telling conflicting stories. That's why he's never going to have Maria, even though she's his biggest supporter and she's had all this stuff happen. You never hear it from her, only him, because I'm going to prove that there's two different stories of the same subject matter, one given by her, one given by him, and hers is about a bear and his is about a Bigfoot showing up on their property.
Yeah, and see, this is when you live in fantasy land and you believe your own lies, or it's hard to say if he actually believes what's going on, or if he is knowingly hoaxing it, or it's a little bit of both, or the lines get blurred. And usually, if you got a big seat, like I'm sure he's feeling pretty fancy on Untold Radio, right? So like he's full of himself. This is where fantasy comes into play, and this is just not good for our community. As we can see, it's not good for anyone who associates with it. It gets burnt. Of course, your mind speaking with Sasquatches, you're talking with your Bigfoots, mind speaking, and all this. It's just it's ridiculous. I don't know how we're gonna
and of course me saying this, certainly this is going to give me the potential of having people be like, oh my God, that Randy, he's full of negative energy, and and saying all this about Chris. I really like Chris. Chris is such a nice guy. But I can tell you this, a lot of people thought Bill Cosby was a nice guy because they related him to being like Dr. Huxtable on his TV show. They had no idea. They thought of him as Dr. Huxtable. So that's why they couldn't believe that he would be slipping roofies into women's drinks and raping them. But the fact is, it's two different people. One is an actor, and then there's the real Bill Cosby. You've got the same thing going on here. He's selling you something. He's different in the podcast than who he is really in person. Who he is in person is a liar. I'm going to prove that he's a liar. And unfortunately, that stink has rubbed off on us, and it pisses me off.
Yeah, I think for good reason too. And I think there's a lot of people like that, presenting themselves as something or not on here. And then when you're in the field, you get a whole different taste of it. Or they, force you to drink the Kool-Aid, especially if if they have the influence over you. If they're some of these bigger channels and stuff like Mark and Larry and stuff, I think when they have 30 people out there influence stuff, that it sounds fantastical, and it's just a regular old night at LBL. And this is the problem: is people influenced by these Bigfoot influencers, and a lot of them are just pulling shit out their ass, or they're too scared to. I mean, it's hard to say if he believes what is going on, he's so scared and he's mentally just out of it like that, or he's knowingly fabricating it and just doesn't care and stuff. Like, there's a lot of. What do you think? Do you think he's hoaxing on purpose, knowingly doing it, or do you think like he's invested in it, that he's just so scared that he possibly thinks it's truth? It's his reality. But
well, at this point, I know that he's knowingly telling an untruth For instance, I just saw on one of his podcasts where somebody was asking him, have you ever seen any lights or orbs? And he's searching in his head for, like, well, yes, yes. As a matter of fact, I was sitting down on a ridge in Missouri, which is our ridge in Missouri, because he's had no other incidents in Missouri. And he says, I saw this orb coming down, and it like a blue phoenix. There was a blue light, and it looked like a blue phoenix coming down over the ridge. So he's talking about being down there with us on the ridge up there where there was a shelf that we would sit on by Crawler Hill. And now he's got a light story where the light looked like a blue phoenix coming down. I can't believe it. I can't believe he's adding stuff in completely made up because he needs an orb story. He's talking to somebody who was asking him about an orb. Well, where in my mind can I come up with an orb story? Okay, I was down in Missouri and there's this. So yeah, he's completely fabricating stuff now that.
Yeah, I haven't come across that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that is ridiculous. And it, it's like, why doesn't he just say that it happened around him? Why does he have to involve it at a place you think he would get called out on because that didn't happen because he's with other people on the same ridge.
He's not
out there by himself. Right?
Somebody on one of his podcasts asked him, when have you seen one with your own eyes? And so he comes up with this story. It was like, I was going across the power line with this other guy and I saw one in the woods and blah, 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 blah. So I asked Shane about it. I said, is that the power line there at the 400? And he was like, yeah. He said, that did not happen. He said, I was driving down that trail through that power line. And Chris says, hey, I think I saw a dark shadow. And him and Shane went there and checked it out. And it was just a shadow of a tree. And he showed Chris how that shadow will change when the sun moves. And that was it. But now it's become where he saw a Bigfoot instead of a shadow, that him and Shane figured it out that it was just a shadow and went on with their lives after that. But now it has become a Bigfoot story that he saw one with his own eyes.
Yeah, I didn't clip it, but he was talking about a Bigfoot shadow in Missouri that he's seen and stuff. But it was not something that he debunked, but more or less real and stuff. Well, I guys to put out what you guys have, obviously, the show so you guys could find out and listen to. There's dozens of podcasts that he has hosted and has been on, and I think you can pick out the lies and added in details and stuff that we demonstrated that I think does happen to some of these people. They add in details. I remembered it, like with Mark and Larry. Six weeks later, I remember. Oh, it's over next to me going taking a piss. You'd think that'd be important, right? Just like a blue phoenix orb flying down. It'd be important to tell Shane or tell you it's happening there, not years later in the podcast. And these people just don't care.
I want to go ahead and throw this out there, and that is in the tent. Go back and listen to the story of him talking about having the Bigfoot breathe on him at the corner of the tent. And he's standing up in the tent and he's all shaking and doesn't know what to do. And then Shane wakes up, shines a light and says, what's going on? Well, first of all, if there would have been something creeping up on the tent, Shane would have woke up too. So Chris standing up woke Shane up, but a Bigfoot creeping up for 20 minutes up to the corner of the tent didn't wake Shane up. Now, here's what I told Shane. I said, when you hear his story, he's saying that, well, then I had to go take a shit. I had to go out in the woods and take a shit. I'm telling you, if he believed for 1 second that there was a Bigfoot outside that tent, there's not a snowball's chance. He would have shit in his pants in the middle of that tent before he would have went out into the woods and took a shit. What he wanted to do is he needed to take a shit already. So he got up and he was worried about, I need to go take a shit. And as soon as Shane woke up, that he was okay to go take a shit then because he had already woke Shane up and Shane could listen to if anything was happening. So I think he needed to take a shit, but he was worried about taking a shit. So when Shane woke up, he had to come up with a cover story. So it became a Bigfoot breathed on him at the corner of the tent. And so Shane, stay awake while I'm taking a poop, so that you'll be my protector. So that's what makes more sense to me from what I know about Chris and his being afraid. He needed to take a shit and needed to have a cover story, and he needed Shane to be awake while he was out taking a shit. And that's more realistic to the Chris that I knew at that time than there being a Bigfoot story that breathed on him, because clearly the recorder didn't pick up anything. There was not 20 minutes of something walking up to the corner of the tent, and Shane found no compressions, no broken twigs, no trail markers, no nothing after doing a grid search of that whole field looking for any approach to that tent. None of that happened, but he did have to take a shit. So I think that's the whole spurring point of that whole thing, was he needed to take a shit and he was afraid. So he had to come up with a cover story to get Shane to wake up and listen while he was out there taking a shit, so he'd feel better.
That is a good theory. I was leaning towards, he was just scared out of his mind, and he'd make literally about the shit himself. So yeah, he did possibly believe everything was happening, but as you pointed out, he keeps adding these fantastic little details that does point to more like he is hoaxing on purpose, and maybe he just, like you pointed out, he just had to take shit and needed a good excuse. I really think that he's believing everything out there, and he's scared, and then he is hoaxing everything else or embellishing it.
I can tell you,
research points out.
I can tell you, Blake.
Researchers embellish.
Hey, Blake, stuff. I can tell you, man. Can't you see the hair raising up on my forearm? I mean, that's what makes it believable. All I got to do is say he needed to take a shit.
He does that every time. You were right. He does. Every time he says it, and his hairs are standing up. Because for him, that makes it more believable. He's got to say that. The hairs on my forearm sticking up. Yep. Exactly. And it's what it is. I think more people are going to deal with it. Of course, we see it on these collaborations where money, it's about views, about good storytelling. And no matter how crazy it is, it's just...
Well, I can tell you
I don't know what
I can tell you this.
The next couple of years with all this influencers influencing everyone.
If he wouldn't keep mentioning the Missouri, I wish he'd go somewhere else in Missouri, so that when he tells a Missouri story, I can say, well, that he's talking about that other Missouri place. I wish he'd just either quit talking about Missouri because he's talking about us, and quit opening his mouth and telling lies about what happened when he was with us. Then this wouldn't be happening. I wouldn't need to tell all the lies that he has told. I wish he would just shut up about it, because every time he opens his mouth about Missouri, he's talking about us, and his stink is rubbing off on us, and I'm getting tired of it. So if he would just shut up about it, I wouldn't need to address it. But he won't shut up about it, because I think that's the only time he ever really saw a Bigfoot activity was through the thermal cameras on the 400 with us. And so if he would just shut up about it, we wouldn't be where we're at right now.
Yeah, I think it is. It gives credit and stuff. If it benefits him to talk about it, he's not going to stop, because you guys are legitimate, and your keep being legitimate, right? So like, he's not going to stop talking. Like when ex-members talk about being in the woods and being with me, it's like they talk about, oh yeah, it happened, because it benefits them and stuff. They don't want to talk about the negative stuff, how it, doesn't benefit them. So yeah, I think you guys are always going to face this kind of an issue. I don't think he's ever going to stop, but I think that spreading awareness and letting it be known, like, this story is fake, and what he's saying is fake, and all this stuff is being a good step forward, because I think when people come across that, they at least will hopefully take a second look, and they get their own conclusion, hopefully be towards the truth, because that's what we should be concerned about. Because it'd be awesome if that story really happened and you guys really had that record, right? And you could actually have real stuff going on, like, instead of this bullshit lies, like,
right?
It's not needed.
Believe me, we wanted there to be corroborating evidence. If Shane would have found a trackway leading up to the corner of that tent, that would do nothing but back up what he's saying, and it would add to what we're saying is going on there. If I had a recording of something creeping up for 20 minutes and the huff going on the side of the tent, that would have been fantastic. But we don't have it. It didn't happen.
Yeah. It's fantasy. And it's easier to gravitate towards fantasy than reality, than the truth. And that's why we see these influencers, these content creators, these storytellers. It's just lies. I mean, it's a nice way to say they're lying to your face and smile. And they're your friends and stuff, so it's hard.
I'd like to say one more thing before I sign off, and that is,
all right,
Shane said that from the very beginning, Chris was a nobody. Shane and him met just online watching his YouTube, and Chris was trying to make a YouTube of just going around and talking about tree structures in his area because he was trying to make money on YouTube then when he was nobody. And when he came down with us as a friend of Shane's, and that's on him and Shane becoming friends. I don't know anything about that, but they became friends. And the first thing that he was trying to get Shane to do is to monetize his account. You need to monetize your account. You need to get money off. So why is a nobody coming in with us and telling Shane that he needs to make money off of YouTubers and make money off of people? And now all of a sudden he's gone off, and that's what he's done, and that's what he's doing. So it's kind of interesting that he started off with us trying to coax us into learning how to make money off of YouTube. And now he's just gone on and just money. And I'm not trying to be a millionaire, but make sure you send me money. I got a new camera I need to get, and now buy my t-shirts, and on and on and on and on. He clearly drew the line that's what he was interested in from the very beginning. And I wish he'd go back and do it all over again, because he would have never been invited.
In that interview that he was with DA, he actually said that he got to start with a group that was trying to make money, and it was all about the view that Shane actually got him away from that and got him on the right path. And that he's,
yes,
even though he didn't mention that he was trying to get you guys to.
Shane's got a big heart.
I know, I realized it. Yeah. Of course, he didn't say that he was trying to get you guys to make the money too. And then now he is doing the exact same stuff that he actually said that he was, which is making money, doing views, fake stuff, so subscribers, and
you'll also find where he said that, I heard a couple of tree knocks and I ran home and I downloaded that video because I thought it was going to go viral, and I was going to make lots of money off this viral video. And then, nobody's very interested in hearing knocks because everybody's heard knocks. It's funny how he describes that. So his motives were trying to find a video that he could get to go viral so that he could make some money.
Yeah. That's just the name of the game, it seems like, for a lot of people. You just get emails. You don't really even have to need people on or do whatever. It's kind of a wacky decade we're in and stuff. I wonder how the original Four Horsemen would feel about all the shenanigans going around, that they would be able to view and see and listen to.
Well, he was also part of a pyramid scheme called Monet hair products and Monet skin products. He and his girlfriend both were part of the Monet pyramid scheme, where they even went to the conferences where the Monet people would meet, and he even took some pictures of the white Cadillacs over there in the parking lot. Like, honey, one day we're going to get to that level where we're going to have the white Cadillacs. So he was actually taking pictures of his own head and trying to sell these products on his own Facebook page. And I was his friend, so I could see this. So he's taking pictures of his head, and he's like, I didn't even intend to grow hair. I was just, I had this product and I wanted my beard to be soft, but I accidentally rubbed some on the top of my head, and so now I'm growing hair. So for $29.99 just this weekend, you can buy this product from our Monet. Better than that, why don't you become a VIP under us so that we can get some of your money and you sell these? So he was learning how to sell products that were not legitimate products and having to fake the fact that I'm growing hair, so you need to buy it too. And so he actually was learning his skills of this pyramid scheme. And I think what he's doing now is just a continuation of that.
So you are seeing and stuff, especially now where he's at and stuff. So that I'm very sure he's very happy to be on. Very, very happy. And it should get to his head and see some of this stuff come out and stuff. You know, usually when people, their foundation is built on lies and stuff, and they're on a pretty tall pedestal to fall down. I think we'll eventually see that in the long run. If the Untold has any integrity, we'll see stuff. But.
Right. Yeah, we'll see. I don't think there's not many podcasters out there that do have any integrity. Yeah.
They definitely have quite the interesting lineup of shows and stuff, which is definitely interesting. But I'm kind of concerned about the integrity parts. Head honcho is supposed to be someone that we're supposed to send research to and have integrity, and so it's one thing to be open to different viewpoints and have different ups on shows and stuff, but to have spineless hoaxers and liars that are known about and can be proven and stuff, especially from you guys, I think it's different. Should be considered.
Well,
I don't know how the next couple of years is going to be when we allow liars to be influencers, and it's all good.
When you're over there gathering information from the podcast that he's done, listen to how many podcasts he's talking about the radiation and the RF meters that he's going through, and he's going to insinuate that his retinal tears have happened, his detachments have happened because he's all of this radiation he's getting from doing all of his Bigfoot research. And he even suggests that look at all these researchers that are getting cancer now because, and so he's insinuating that the BFR, the Bigfoots are putting off these radiation that's causing health issues with his eye. And the fact is, the biggest contributor to a detached retina is just being over the age of 50. You don't have to have head trauma. You don't have to get bonked in the side of your head for it to be to get a detachment. Just being over 50 is the biggest reason to have a detachment. That's the facts. But he needs it to be a Bigfoot related because he came in from a hike one day and all of a sudden his eye started detaching. So it becomes a Bigfoot story that the infrared and the radiation from a Bigfoot caused his detachments.
Yeah, I think everything is big when it comes to him, and it might be personally, on a personal level, it's his community, he's embraced to embrace him, and he feels like he has a speaker head. He can speak, and he's valued, and he's appreciated, and he's popular, he's cool. This is the things that we're facing, and not everyone's in it for the same reasons.
So if any person says, you know what, I'm not going to listen to Randy anymore because he's saying this bad stuff about Chris, I am 100% okay with that, because anybody who says that the value of what I'm saying, that what Chris is doing means nothing to me. If they value somebody that's lying over what I'm saying, it's no great loss to me.
Everyone should at least investigate hard, truthfully, with integrity, actually come to their own conclusions and not just have a bias or fall for a pretty or friendly smiling phrase that can feel a good sounding. I think it basically sums up by you don't judge a book by its cover, and it works both ways. A cover can be nice and shiny and flashy. You shouldn't really judge it by that. So
yeah,
I appreciate you being on and stuff. I think we'll be shutting the show down. I guess if anyone else wants to come on and stuff, we can extend it a little bit. But for the most part, we nailed everything with Chris.
I'm gonna let you
were
go,
able
buddy.
to be on. I know you're saying that you're going to jump off, and so unless anyone else jumps on, wants to jump on, give a little input about Chris, about any of the other people we talked about. it was pretty. So I personally got chunks of what he was saying and stuff. I understood enough, but I'll have to go back if I wanted to find details myself. Hopefully the stream was, from everyone's lack of comments of the stream being choppy and unable to be viewed, it seems to be okay. I guess my end is being bad. My internet's been bad for the last 2 times I've done this, I guess. I'm not sure. Let me get this link put back in here. If anyone wants to jump on, we'll be like as oh man. As much as I like to talk, I'm not going to do a record long show. Hopefully that posted. I'm having some trouble. But I think we need to value real researchers with integrity and support those guys. Like the guys in the 400 and other researchers out there who want to actually have and stuff. And sometimes there's people out there who just they're not hoaxing, they're fantasy and stuff. They're just out there and they just need a little bit more help, just more experience and a different mindset of calming down and not everything's Bigfoot, like actually taking a look and admitting, like, when you find something really cool and it's not Bigfoot, it's not Bigfoot. Don't make it into something that it's not. So I think a lot of good people are out there trying to do the best, just really influenced by the wrong people, and they have the wrong mindset and the wrong standards of evidence and just how to go about it. Everything, sounds of animals. So when they're out there having experiences, it's just different. So, but the links to come on should be in the chat, hopefully. I would like to invite everyone, as winter's almost over with, to reach out if they want to collaborate and come to Michigan, do some camping out. If you guys want to do some epic, like 168 style expedition, get some planning and stuff. We can runs. We can have a whole host of teams. We can have an epic camp out. There's several locations and stuff for a big, massive 168 style camp out of at least a dozen researchers or more. Definitely got some big spots that could fit a big camp, big spot. Good area, so I'm definitely down for it. Really down for it, actually. I want researchers here to collaborate what we're experiencing and stuff and witness stuff in real time with us. Hopefully capture it on camera, of course, present it to you guys. And not just have stories to tell. The link is in the description for PayPal. If you want to help donate, if you want to buy some merchandise, there's a link in there for some shirts. And other stuff. I think we're going to be doing more, trying to get people to come here and stuff. So if you want to really come here, it doesn't really cost anything. You don't have to pay me to come here and to go out and stuff. I don't charge people to go out. But if you want to donate, that's okay. That's welcome. But I'm not going to charge people to take them out in the field. If you want to go out in the field and actually research and go out and stuff, that it's definitely welcome. And we can set some stuff up. So give me a call. Would love to have a 168 style research expedition. And it's definitely going to it would definitely be a big opportunity because we have ample opportunity with areas that could get actual evidence. And the reason why I'm throwing the donation links out for merchandise and PayPal is to basically get more equipment and stuff and to streamline and speed up the process getting equipment and putting stuff out there as soon as possible. So if I'm able to get $150, we can get another audio unit out there and set up with at minimum 2 weeks battery life in a whole housing unit that is waterproof. So $150 can get audio recorder and different battery setup and the housing to get that out there ready for a week recording, 2 weeks recording stuff. Just depends. Particularly, just depends on exactly the setup. So if we get a couple of those out and have a couple areas where nonstop audio recordings, potentially we could hopefully start recording realistically every single day of the year in multiple different areas. So about $100 could get us an audio recorder and the housing, batteries and stuff is about what we're looking at. So we can get a couple donations and stuff like that. Major stuff, we can get a couple different with some audio net. I would love to have multiple different audio recorders going in just one area, and then have multiple area stuff going. Of course, if we had a bunch of kill cameras, that would help too. But I more value the audio recorders. Of course, funding for premium badass thermal that would actually be used would be essential, and one that wouldn't be able to get stolen. That would be good to use. So I am kind of putting out the funding and stuff because it would streamline the process of being able to stuff out there. And if you guys really want to support us and stuff, there is a way to do that. If people want to come out, reach a hold of me. We can do a little bit of that, a little bit of filming. So we have some stuff that we're working on, and I wanted to get out this weekend. I didn't get out this weekend. I wanted there to be snow out this weekend. There is no more snow where I was planning to go. So trying to find tracks this winter has really been sucky. Not really that well lining up for there to be snow when I get the chance to go out there. So it's whatever. But we'll call the boys up. We're going to range up, camp out, or I might be going solo camping. Not this next weekend, but the week after that. I think I'm going to do some solo camping if no one's able to go out with me. Appreciate that, Texas Jack. If you are able to, let's make it happen stuff. I would definitely say that the more hardcore expeditions, camp out stuff can happen. The best times, if you guys are really interested to get stuff here in Michigan, I would say would be July is the biggest one for sure. And June and July is pretty good. May, June, July, they're all pretty. But July is a massive one for out summer activity. So I plan on doing some major expedition in July, the whole summer months, but we're gonna try to particular as in go beyond any beyond what anyone's gone and done in Michigan. So, and of course get actual interaction that we can capture. Of course, we have night vision. The other crew members have thermal and audio record like that. So hopefully we can get some good stuff. I know we all kind of got our life and busy schedules and stuff, so it's kind of hard to line everyone up and get things going as of late, but stuff going. I know they were out and stuff. They didn't get nothing done. I know James were on here. He was talking about it, but whenever we can get out to, they certainly don't need me to hold their hand, so that's what I like. All right. Well, no one's really joining, so I think we're going to be shutting this stream down and stuff. I already plugged in the donation link again, so if you guys help out the cause and actually get equipment and stuff, like not this grifting bullshit, but like if we get some equipment, show you that I got it, let's put it the fuck out there and let's try to get some stuff. Like this is not rocket science. Like where did the money go? Well, it certainly didn't to where the people said it would go, because they're not showing it, and it's like, oh, they bought a new this, they bought a new that. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But you know, I want real research to be done, real evidence, real equipment to be bought to be used. You know, you don't just buy, showcase and show it off like, oh, I got a thermal. You know, it sits on the shelf. Like, you go out there and use it. So donations, get some help if you guys want to actually support us in that way. I know I haven't put links out in a long time, so there's really never been a way, unless you want to do it off YouTube. But I don't do the memberships and all that, so it's, you know, it is what it is. But if you guys actually want to do help with the research, I sold out, as they say, right? You know, he's gripped a year since he only had a link to be able to. So, but with that, donations and stuff, you guys will actually get real evidence and real thing that actually happened in the woods, like some of the stuff that I will show you. And oh, that's not it. Audio that's going to be playing here pretty soon. And make a couple phone calls and I'll get to the bottom of it. But of course, we have this red eye that was captured in 168 and stuff, with better technology and actual equipment that can be used. It is possible to get some pretty interesting stuff here. I'll show you some. Let's listen to nice wood knock. I was going to show earlier, but we didn't show. That's okay. I don't have that video. I guess I don't have that video up anymore. Let's take a look at this one.
Well, there's a big pile of mess. They could have flipped around and stuff. Yeah. Well, there's a big pile of mess. They could have flipped around and stuff. Yeah. Well, there's a big pile of mess. They could have flipped around and stuff. Yeah.
Interesting part is when me and James went there, that was the third time we went there into the area, and then all crazy stuff started to happen. We actually did capture sounds on video. It's actually one of the earliest stuff that we put on the channel. And there is actually some audio and grunts and stuff. James was pretty scared and stuff, you know, but again, you gotta calm down, relax and stuff, which I did tell him to do. And because if you're in that fear-based, you're all over the place. All right, so let's play this audio and stuff. This was captured over in one of these areas in Michigan that was pretty intense, crazy, a lot of different crazy sounds and actual rocks being thrown. Where'd it go? All right. What was that? I don't know. Did you hear that hiss? Oh my God, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Something just got thrown in the water.
Yeah.
Oh my God, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Something just
throwing it in the water.
Yeah.
Oh my God, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Something just got thrown in the water.
Yeah.
Sabe. Oh. You hear that? Sabe. You hear that? Sabe. You hear that? Sabe. You hear that? Sabe. You hear that?
That was pretty intense. And that's one of the areas that could possibly go to. Other areas we could go to. Just because we have good areas doesn't mean actually stuff's going to happen, because stuff happens. Sometimes stuff doesn't happen. Been to some honey holes that stuff hasn't happened the last couple times. So it's like, it's a downer, but things change. You got to go to work the area. You got to work, you know. Just because you got a favorite spot doesn't mean that that's where it can be the case. So I'll get some other things lined up. But next week, we're going to talk a little bit more about Chris. Be on the lookout for Randy Harrington's video that he'll do on his channel. I'm assuming on his channel. Crew. But basically, you know, be on the lookout for that, and just judge for yourself. Look look for the signs, you know, let's look at stories that you're hearing and the people and see if they're lying, or just keep an open mind. You know, you don't have to really judge and look at every single but like, I find it that in the long run, it's an issue when everyone's lying stories, and there's just a wild west of anything is possible. All right, well, as we'll see you guys next time on the live show. Be on the lookout for some good shows with Sasquatch Secrets tomorrow, 7 o'clock Eastern. I will be there probably a little late, but I definitely will be listening. So, all righty. Without further ado, every one of you guys, and trying to find the video. We'll see you guys next time.